you got to get scared that people who are not criminals are getting like lassoed up and deported and sent to like El Salvador prisons. This is kind of crazy that could be possible. That's horrific, and that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees, but let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs, and then like, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake?
The guy that Joe Rogan is talking about is Andre Jose Hernandez Romero. He is the gay Venezuelan makeup artist that was flown to a maximum security prison in El Salvador for having crown tattoos, which is apparently, for the Trump administration, proof that he is in a gang. This case is just one of many we have learned about where tattooed non-gang members have been uprooted and sent to El Salvador with zero due process. And to Joe Rogan's point, it is horrific, and it was a horrible mistake. Just like when they sent a father from Maryland with protected legal status to that same El Salvadorian prison. That man's name is Gilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, he came to the U.S. from El Salvador in 2011. He's a legal resident who has a 2019 court order that prevented him from being sent back to his home country. The White House has provided no credible evidence he's in a gang. His lawyers deny he has any gang affiliation. Yesterday, the administration actually admitted in court papers that, quote, on March 15th, although ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error. Administrative error that took this man away from his home, Maryland, where he lives with his wife and 3 children, including a 5-year-old child who's an American citizen who is autistic and intellectually disabled. Simon Sandoval Moshenberg is the attorney representing that Maryland father, Gilmar Abrego Garcia, and he joins me now. It's good to have you on the program. First, I want to just ask, we've all seen these sort of horrific images of this prison. We've read reporting about it. Are you able to contact your client? Is there any avenue to even talk to him down there?
No. Unfortunately, prisoners in the notorious CCOT prison are held incommunicado. It really is a black hole.
So is there any way to, like, talk to the El Salvadoran authorities? Is there any pathway or route when a mistake has been made, as the government has now admitted, for any kind of process to get people out of that place?
We believe that if the government of the United States simply made a good faith request to the government of El Salvador to give him back, I expect that would be successful. Right now, it appears that the government of El Salvador does pretty much anything we ask them to do. We say jump, they say how high. Kristi Noem was inside the walls of that prison on Wednesday of last week. We filed this case on Monday of last week. We had our first scheduling conference with the judge on Tuesday of last week. So after the government was already on notice of this case, it was already on notice that they made this mistake, they sent Kristi Noem into that prison, but she didn't make any steps to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia back to the United States with her. That's what we're asking the judge to order.
I'm sure you've seen the Vice President of the United States, who has a lot of time to tweet, apparently, like a lot of time, posting about your client, basically saying that he's an illegal immigrant, he has no right to be in the country, that immigration judge determined he was a member of the MS-13 gang, and he's not a citizen, so he got the due process necessary. What is your response to that?
My client was issued an order of protection by an immigration judge under the first Trump administration in 2019. The government chose not to appeal that decision, right? They simply released him and let it be. There's lots of legal steps. If the government really thinks that they have the evidence that my client is a gang member, which he's absolutely not, but if they think they have evidence that he is, there are lots of legal proceedings that they can go through to try to legally strip him of his order of protection. They didn't do any of that. They just put him on a plane, and by doing so, they've prevented the immigration courts from doing their job.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he came to the U.S. seeking asylum at exactly the age that lots of folks have fled El Salvador and Nicaragua and Honduras, precisely because when boys of a certain age start to sort of age into essentially gang, either recruitment or basically, being drafted, he didn't want to be part of that, and that was why he came to the United States.
That's right. He was 16 years old at the time he came. He came fleeing harassment, bullying, and attempts at forced recruitment from the very gangs that they're now accusing him of being a member of.
His family, his 5-year-old child is an American citizen, is that correct?
That's right. His wife is an American citizen. His 5-year-old child, who is autistic, is an American citizen. And the child was present for his arrest earlier this month and was severely traumatized by it.
The family, first of all, how are they doing? I mean, I imagine you're in contact with them. They can't talk to their husband or father. Like, how are they doing?
No, it's very stressful. She was in communication with Mr. Abrego Garcia while he was in ICE detention. They were bouncing him around from detention center to detention center. And then all of a sudden, one day, he just stopped calling. And she didn't know what happened until a friend pointed out pictures of the Venezuelans who'd been deported to El Salvador. And she recognized him in the media coverage from some scars on his head and a tattoo of a lion that he has on his arm.
Final question for you. Your demand for the government to redress the error they themselves admit is for them to make a request to the government to get him out of that prison and bring him back. Is that correct?
Step one is just ask nicely. Ask Bukele, ask the government of El Salvador to give him back to us. I expect that's going to work. If it doesn't work, then we can look at other remedial steps that are necessary.
All right, Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg, who represents that man who is in that prison due to error by the admission of the Trump administration. Thanks for joining us, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure.